quiet village nestled between mist-covered mountains, there was an old tale of the restless soul, whispered by the elders on dark, windy nights. They spoke of Eliza, a woman who lived over 100 years ago, with beauty that charmed every man in the village and intelligence that unnerved the local priest. Eliza was an outcast, not for her looks or her sharp mind, but for the secret she was rumored to hold. The villagers swore she knew ancient ways, spells, and curses, and they accused her of practicing dark magic. One autumn night, a sickness fell upon the village. Children and elderly folk weakened, crops began to wither. In desperation, the villagers turned their suspicions toward Eliza, believing she had cursed them. Their fears grew into anger, and soon a mob formed. Ignoring her pleas, they tied Eliza to an ancient tree at the edge of the forest and left her there to die, insisting she be punished for bringing darkness upon their home. In her final breath, Eliza muttered a chilling curse. "I will never leave. My soul will walk these lands long after you are gone." As her life slipped away, a sudden, unnatural silence settled over the village. The sick recovered, and the crops slowly began to grow again, but an eerie chill remained in the air. Over the years, strange occurrences began to trouble the village. Shadows would move on their own, and the sound of faint whispers floated through the streets at night. Those who dared to venture near the tree where Eliza had died claimed to feel her presence. Animals avoided it, and the ground around it remained barren, even in springtime. The villagers started seeing her ghostly figure, especially on nights of a full moon. She would wander the village, her feet never touching the ground, her eyes glowing with sorrow and anger. Children were told never to speak her name, for fear that it might summon her vengeful spirit. Some nights, villagers heard a knock on their doors in the dead of night, and when they opened them, a chilling breeze would sweep through, leaving them cold and shaking. One night, a young skeptic named Thomas decided to challenge the legend. Ignoring warnings, he set out to the cursed tree with only a lantern and a bag of salt, a traditional method used to ward off spirits. As he reached the tree, he circled it with salt, muttering that he didn't believe in her power. But as soon as the last grain hit the ground, the air grew cold, and a figure began to emerge from the mist. Eliza's spirit materialized before him, her hollow eyes fixed on his. "You mock the dead?" she whispered, her voice echoing with an unnatural resonance. Thomas, paralyzed with fear, could only watch as her ghostly hand reached through the barrier of salt as though it were nothing. From that night on, Thomas was never the same. He became quiet, withdrawn, his once lively eyes now dull. He would speak of visions, of Eliza standing at the foot of his bed, watching him with an expression of sadness and rage. Villagers noticed how Thomas would sometimes stop mid-conversation, staring at something no one else could see, muttering, "She's here. She never leaves." In time, Thomas disappeared. No one ever saw him again, though some claimed to hear his voice on dark, windy nights, echoing through the forest, calling for help. Those who ventured near the tree claimed to see not only Eliza, but now also Thomas, forever cursed to wander alongside her, bound by her vengeance. Since then, the village remains cautious. They leave offerings by the ancient tree, flowers, trinkets, anything to appease Eliza's spirit. But every so often, someone new arrives, hearing whispers of an old legend, a tale of a woman whose spirit never left. And when they, too, challenge the curse, the village grows silent, and the shadows lengthen, as though to welcome another restless soul to join Eliza's eternal watch.